Hey everyone, so before we get too far into this video, I just wanted to say Happy New Year. It is January 1st if you're watching this in the same time zone as I am. But I wanted to also thank those who have chosen to support me on this journey so far. Up to 4 months they've been supporting for. These are the people who hit the join button, and you can read more about that in the description. So we've got Canadian Steel, Slow Fried Chicken 69, Overlord, That Riced Out Explorer, Justin, and QT Bear. Thank you so much for your support. I usually read these names at the end of the video, but for this one, I thought I'd do it on the first, just as a special thing for them. Anyways, on to the video. So you've read the title, and now you know, yes, we will be making the best car I have made this entire decade so far. Yes, so what we're going to do is make the ugliest car possible, and probably the worst, and for that I'm planning on using this 2015 hatchback body. Let's go ahead and make some mistakes. Now, I could just go ridiculous. I could just add huge wings and like 20 wings on the sides and, I don't know, massive donk wheels and stuff and just mess this up, and that would be ugly. But what I want to do is make it semi-realistic, but also terrible. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So what I've gone with here is not particularly exciting. It's all steel. Front transverse, we're going to make it front wheel drive, and that's McPherson struts in the front and torsion beams in the back. I don't know, we're just messing around at this point, as you might already be able to tell. Let's make a new engine, and we'll just go with this name for now. I'll rename it later. So let's do something pretty basic. Let's make it a very small V6. Like very small, maybe a 2.5 liter. Right, so this car is a 2020, so we'll try and make it modern-ish, but it's still a V6, 2.5 liter V6. We'll make it a, I don't know, overhead cam, just 2 valves. Doesn't need to be fancy at all, and everything is going to be cast as well. Alright, so what else should we do for this? Turbos? No, we won't go turbos. Carburetor in 2020? Let's do it. Single barrel carb, single carburetor with a standard intake. Okay, I'm not going to do the carburetor, I'm going to go direct injection. We'll just go single with regular fuel as well. It's going to be pretty basic in terms of powertrain, it doesn't need to be fancy. Alright, immediately makes 119 horsepower. I'm actually okay with that. I didn't really intend on making this super bad or super powerful. 119 horsepower is good, but let's do a couple of tweaks. It's not so much about the driving, it's more about the... Oh goodness, wow, that can actually take a pretty decent beating. But it's not so much about the driving in this case, it's a lot more about just the look of the vehicle. Well, you know what? I'm actually gonna leave it like this. I'm gonna leave it really high in RPM, like way over the max, and we'll test that out in Beam to see how that drives. This is gonna be really awkward, because it makes peak power like at 6,000 RPM, but it goes all the way up to 8,000, so we'd be shifting a lot earlier if it was gonna be a manual, which it's not. Anyways, let's go ahead with that. Didn't really adjust much. Oh, looks like the exhaust is restrictive, so I guess we can change that. 139 horsepower, pretty decent, and still the same issue. Now I'm picking this body because to me this body is not particularly attractive, and it does look kind of modern, so I guess... Whoa. Oh boy, okay, we can make it a lot worse. Let's do that. Now we're getting into ultimate crossover territory here. Oh yikes, okay, that's like Honda Insight. Let's get rid of that. And, oh, that can pull out as well. Maybe we'll just leave it like this before things get too dangerous. And paint. I think what we're going to do is make it some ridiculous color, specifically a lime green. Now this works out pretty nicely. I think this is going to be good. In terms of trim, we'll just go plastic. We won't go too far out of the way, but just a dark plastic will work. And steel wheels will look okay on this car. Some people might actually like this, but yeah, I'm not going for that. We're trying to make it bad here. Alright, fixtures. Now this is where things get interesting. Specifically, we need to make it sort of modern looking, but also a very drastic design. Now I was thinking of going for these McLaren headlights that I've got here, but they just don't really work on this body, or at all in that case. Yeah, that's what that would look like. It's not great. Let's try and do something a little bit worse. Before we go too far though, let's pick some wheels. Oh yes, we can finally get into some of the really funky ones that I've never tried before. There are quite a few wheels in this game I've just never used, so this is the opportunity. Okay, so the engine is in the car, you can see it here. and, well, it doesn't look too far out of place. We'll just put the bonnet back on. Interestingly, the bonnet doesn't include this big piece here, so I don't know what that's supposed to be. I'm guessing it's trim of some kind, but it's just awkward. Now, I didn't really intend for this at the beginning of this video, but this car is sort of turning into a testing bed for all of the designs that I've never been able to do because I knew they were bad. And that's kind of what I'm going for here. Why don't we try and do some, I guess, not common design choices and just see if they turn out okay, because at this point we may as well. So one of the good parts about this game is you can take basically any light and turn it into whatever you want it to be. So if I take these big turn signal pieces here, I can stretch them out all the way down like this, and then all we need to do is change these to be white, and then this will be a headlight. I've also taken the liberty to do the same thing to the front, although unfortunately it appears to be cutting out a lot of the body when I do it, which is not great. Alright, this is done, but I still want to do something else. There are a bunch of other lights in here, a lot of very interesting looking ones, so why don't we go ahead and try out some of them. I don't think that this is actually going to work in Beam, but it'll look cool in automation at the very least. You know what though, we have a bit of a circular theme going on, so why don't we go with that. We'll put one of these grills on there, something that I would not have done normally. Goodness, the fish lives on. Alright, a couple extra details have been added, including an upside down Tesla grill, and this grill here has been shrunk down just a little bit. Let's do some side pieces or something because this just feels a little bit too empty. Admittedly, I've already spent too much time on this, but I'm having fun with it. Let's go ahead and change these to be, oh wow, that's bad. That's real bad. Let's not do that. Oh goodness, it's really bad. It's very unique though. It is very unique. Now this car has a built-in chin splitter, but that's not going to work for downforce. We do have a few other options here based on different mods. I think I might just try and put one of these on just to have something. There you go. That works out just fine. That is a lot of green and a lot of black. Such a weird looking car. Alright, it's time to do the back. Now, we did that one technique with lights all the way up and down on the front, so we'll probably try and echo that on the back, but I can't help but try out some of these things that I've never used before. These Dodge Challenger style lights, or just Dodge in general. I don't know, it almost works. I'm actually gonna go with this. I know it's not great. That's kind of the idea though. Why don't we try and put something weird on the back of this car? Like one of these things. Oh boy, that is weird though. Never mind, that's just a bit too far out. We're already kind of in odd territory. Let's not go too far into it. And I'll go ahead and do that old technique where you basically just put the light layer up one, and then just make this one whole piece like that. So it's got some definition on the back. We can put a license plate in there. Let's do that right now before I forget. That works for me. Now, we haven't done much in terms of other details. I did do an exhaust pipe, but we need door handles, we need, I don't know, did we really need wipers? This windshield is so curved. I don't think that's even gonna work. It's like a sunroof and windscreen blend. Alright, one thing at a time. Let's add these handles on here. Probably gonna try and use some that I've never used before, like these. Well, it just fits it too well. Alright, just putting some more detail on it. I just put a gas cap on there, and I remembered that we do have this as an option, and I'm very much considering adding that on. It's the princess variant of the car, complete with eyelashes. Oh goodness, that's so bad, but it's so good at the same time. On both eyes there. Oh wow. Oh no. Okay, today is the day. Today is the day that the eyelashes stay. What a terrible day it is. We'll just give it one giant uniwiper. That should work out just fine. It does need mirrors, although I was thinking of just omitting mirrors entirely for the sleek look, but we'll go ahead and add something on there. We could make them truck mirrors, but again, trying to be at least semi-realistic. It's gotta be ugly, but ugly with some sort of passion. I don't know what I'm trying to say right now. It's just bad. You know what we are missing though? We definitely need some sort of wing on the back to just block off half the window like the Prius, which is pretty dumb, but I do like the look of the Prius, as awkward as it is. But anyway, let's try something here. There's gotta be a wing in this lineup that'll actually work for this. Is today the day that the whale tail comes back? Is this the day that the whale tail actually has a function? Oh no, it does work. Oh, I didn't want it to work though. I was hoping it wouldn't. Oh man, fine, we're doing the whale tail. It's gonna have to leave it on there. This car is just getting worse and worse. I love it. Alright, stare into the face of evil as I move a little bit forward here. So it's gonna be an auto. We'll make it a 5-speed auto. You know what, let's make it a 4-speed auto. The drivetrain doesn't have to be good either. 218 is its estimated top speed, but it's gonna have open diffs, so this is not gonna go too well. Radials, as always. I want to try and get a stance on this car so we can see what it's gonna look like. Probably more SUV than anything else, considering its backlights and everything, with the whale tail combo there. Whew. I don't know if anything could even turn this thing around. Taking off those eyelashes doesn't really help. Now, most SUVs are going to have tires bigger than this, I would think. I know the Ford Escape is a 235, for example, but we'll go with 215s unless the wheel spin is too bad. 18-inch rims seems a bit big. We'll drop down to, you know what, 18s actually does look good though, so we'll leave those on, and they'll just be alloy rims as well. And we'll just go vented 1-piston discs on the front and the back. It'll just make it a little bit easier for us. No cooling flaps, no active wing. Nothing really needed there at all. This is fine, and we'll try and make this semi-realistic, sport interior, standard infotainment. This thing could be a production car, but my question is, what brand would make it? What brand do you see making something as horrible as this? So if you adjust the front springs to be extremely weak, then the line actually goes within the graph, but then you start to have issues with downforce at top speed not working, so we'll just leave that as is. I'm not too concerned about this, but surprisingly this car is actually reasonable for the in-game settings, so it's kind of interesting to see. I like the ride height. I think it's going to work out nicely. Let's go back and add a few other fixtures. Actually, hold on, we should probably look at the brake graph before we go too far. Oh goodness. Okay, 200mm brakes, just not big enough. We'll increase the size of these things. Oh wow, all the way? Is that what we really need? And then same thing on the back. Looks like we're still really far down on the front. We've got more grip than we do braking, so up goes the pad type, I guess. Oh no, there we go. We'll just go 2 pistons on the front. Not exactly realistic, but it'll work for this. It actually has no wheel spin issues at all. Believe it or not, 0 wheel spin. So we'll make that change just a little bit. It'll have a touch of wheel spin in first, but that's not a big deal. We just don't want it to accelerate too slowly. We do want to be able to move. Okay, you know what this car is just missing though? It's missing those weird graphics. Like some of these cars just need those like big lines across the middle and all this kind of stuff. I don't know, stuff like the Aztec. Let's go ahead and try out some of it. I think I might have a few badges here we can use. Or we could just go for some straight up anime on there. Oh boy. And I also haven't given this car a name. Yikes, that's something I should probably do. Alright, the name is taken care of, but we still need graphics. Or we don't need it, but I just like to do it. Now, we do have a couple options, like I said before. We do have big black graphics here that we can use. Unfortunately, these things can't be recolored, so they are just the color they are, which is sometimes good and sometimes bad. We'll just have to see if it can work out for us here. Well, they're kind of breaking apart, unfortunately, so I don't think it's going to work. I guess I could use a bunch of different small ones, but yeah, it's fine without. Well, I think it's done. I think that is it for this car. Let's go try it in Beam, and I don't know what we're going to do with it. Maybe crash it into something and see how far the eyelashes can fly. That's really about it, though. This is the best build I've done so far this decade. Right, so this is how this abomination had turned out in Beam. The black is super black on there. I guess that's kind of what you would expect, but I mean, it's about what you would think it was. I think the top kind of looks a bit like a convertible, a little bit too much contrast with the glass, But other than that, it's fine. I think I probably could have fixed that a little bit easier just by changing the colors. Now, one thing that I find kind of funny is the back brakes are really small, but the front brakes are just massive. So it's not well balanced in that way, as you will soon find out. So keep in mind, this car is an auto. I'm not going to be shifting the gears myself, and I did that on purpose. Let's try and take it around the driver experience track, and we'll try and do some stunts with it. I don't know what we're doing with this thing. Originally, I took it to Garfield Heights map, but unfortunately that map is, well, it's still very much under construction, and yeah, a bunch of the textures were just missing, so either I need to clear my cache, or the map is just still in use, or still under construction. Right, so all we're going to be doing with this car is just driving around, I think. There's nobody really to shock with its ugliness, but we can just test the performance of it, the bounciness of it. I don't know why, though. It's not really, there isn't much point. You probably already can tell it's a little rough around the edges. It also sucks to not have to, or not be changing my own gears. Like, that's one thing I've definitely been getting used to, especially playing a lot of Forza. I've been changing my own gears quite a bit, even not using the clutch, just X and B on the controller, but it's good enough that I'm so used to it now. It's weird when the auto transmission doesn't shift in the time that I would want it to, so I kind of see why people were wanting me to do that before. Alright, let's try the handling course. Obviously I couldn't do any sweet drifts in the water with this thing, but maybe around the handling course it'll be a little bit better. Front wheel drive, so I don't know, front wheel drive isn't terrible, but it's not great either. Can't be as sporty with front wheel drive as you can with rear and all, at least from my experience. The torque steer on this car is probably going to be nuts, as we're probably going to be experiencing a lot of understeer. I tried to set it up according to the graph so it would be fine, but I mean, the graph isn't always right. It can be wrong as well. Now, Beam has a driver training thing that they make you use a very basic covet here to do a J-turn. So let's give that a try. I've actually done a bunch of the driver training stuff in Beam. Some people had suggested on the Discord that I do that, but I've done a lot of it. Ooh. Well, okay, we're not gonna get a full J out of that one, but not terrible. Could have been worse. Alright, there is a lot more to this map that I have not exactly showed off yet, so let's go ahead and try some of those things. We've got to travel over to the dome area, I would think, and see if this car can do anything on that. Although the hardest part of that is remembering which way it is, and I believe it's this way, so let's go. Right, so in terms of top speed, I believe this car said it would cap out at like 218, somewhere around there. I've only got it up to, like, this is the fastest I've got this car up to, so we'll have to give it a try. Actually, we could do that quickly first. Let's try it down this highway stretch, see if we can get past 200 in this front-wheel drive beast. Well, so far so good. We're absolutely gonna smash here. I'm not even gonna bother trying to stop. 130, that's, something, I guess. Alright, we are now going back the other way. This is really not that long a stretch, so we'll try to do the best that we can here. I really like how I accidentally made the exhaust just way too big, but it totally fits with this. This is somehow a racer car and an eyelash car at the same time. I don't know how that's possible, but it just is. And in this short stretch we have managed to do 150. But it seems to be capping out pretty much there. I'm sure if we had an unlimited runway, we could do better, but for now, that's good enough. Instead of calling this the Eco Beast, I should have called it the Eyelash Beast, although it also isn't called the Eco Beast, it's called something else. Totally forgot what its name is. I don't even know why I just made it an eco theme. I don't know, it's green, that's about it. It's not even that fuel efficient. Right, so on this giant circle, where we're hopefully going to be able to build up some speed. So far I've managed to get 130, and we're still turning in a little bit more than we really need to. Ooh, this is getting good though, 132. Let's try and smash some records here on this giant oval. Well, it seems this car really does cap out at like 130 when you're turning like this. We're not even turning that sharply, and the entire car is shifted considerably. This is not the greatest example of handling, that I have ever created. The body roll is nuts. One thing I also didn't change was the wheel offset. I kind of just left it the same, but you know what? It's not a bad place. Like, it makes sense for a crossover like this. Or a CUV, I guess they're called these days. This car is almost equivalent to like a base model RAV4, except with much, much worse styling. Actually, you know what? I was just thinking about what I just said. RAV4 doesn't really work for this. What about CRH, or whatever the Toyota equivalent is called? That small thing. Yeah, that's about what this is. In terms of styling as well, I was kind of thinking about that as I was making it. It really does look like a CRH, or CHR, I don't even know. What's with car manufacturers just naming things like letters and numbers? I definitely liked when it used to have names like Corolla. It's a lot easier to say and memorize than CHR or HRC. At least it made sense back in the day, like G35 is a 3.5 liter V6, so 35 makes sense. And then they made the G37, which is a 3.7 liter V6, so it makes sense. But these days, I don't know, it just doesn't. Okay, here is a giant braking skid pad. If we just hammer on the brakes, it basically doesn't do anything until you actually get onto the pavement. I'm surprised that the brakes on this car don't lock up the wheels, but that makes me interested to try something else. Why don't we try and make a car with massive 6-piston, like 420mm carbon brakes, and no ABS, and we'll just try and lock the wheels and see how far we can skid with it. That'll be its entire purpose. Alright, one more attempt at this skid pad, and I think we'll try something else. But as you can see here, I can lock the back wheels, and then I guess just stop accelerating. And we do come to a halt eventually, but my goodness, we skid far. I mean, the reality is I'm pushing this car to its limits, we'll say. The limits are pretty easily reached when you're setting the bar this low, but its regular driving isn't going to be this fast or this aggressive. It's going to be a little bit more like this. Probably just cruising into a parking lot, trying to find a space to park at the driver training center as an example, coming up to a spot here, backing up, oh, gotta shift in reverse, and then taking up a space and a half. That's pretty much what this car will be doing. And there it sits. This is the best car I've made this decade so far. Also, probably the worst one once we get going. But anyways, that is it for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed. Thank you to everybody who supported me through 2019. I really do appreciate it a lot, especially those who have hit the join button. If you want to join that crew, as I mentioned them earlier in the video, make sure to hit the join button, and advanced supporters get their names called out, so yeah, you get a bit of a shout out at the end of every video. At least every meaningful video. Some shorter ones and stuff that's more fluff, probably not, but main content, absolutely yes. But yeah, this green machine will be followed up with something better coming up next week, I guess. I'm not even sure what's going to happen next week. I'm planning, though, to do a video every single weekday, so it's going to be good. Hopefully, you'll enjoy whatever I create during that time. Anyways, that's it for this week. Except, actually, there's a stream on Friday, and another My Summer Car video on Saturday, so not so much. I'll see you again through those, and Happy New Year.